All right, welcome everyone. I hope everyone can see my slide. We just would like to welcome you. My name is Brian Stewart. I am the Workforce Director here at the Montgomery County Educational Service Center, and I am joined by our Superintendent, Shannon Cox. Shannon, do you have any welcoming words for us today?
Well, of course I do. Students, I know it's been a few weeks since we've seen each other in person, but I hope your experience has been amazing and that you've learned and grown from the process. And we are very excited to see your work today. For all of the rest of you who are joining, thank you for taking the time out of your day. We know that time is a resource and it's very valuable, but I think that all of you, if we ask you the question at the end of these presentations, did you learn something? Are you better off after sitting through these wonderful presentations by the students? You would absolutely 100% say, yes, we are. So I will not take up any more time because we are here for the kids and we want to make sure we give them ample time to do what they need to do. But from Montgomery County ESC, from our Business Advisory Council, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to the students who took a risk and put their applications in for the internship, for all of the adults in the room, the Zoom room today. Thank you for taking your time and supporting these young people in their future, because their future is our future.
So much, Shannon. And just as a reminder, our day is built around incorporating student voice into our region's Business Advisory Council. So all public school districts have to be a part of a Business Advisory Council. And we have many ways that we incorporate student voices. But every summer we take 2 or 3, sometimes even 4 different challenges that our Business Advisory Council is playing with. And we ask high school students, how would they approach the challenge? So we all know that if we have strong business advisory councils around the state, that our state will be better for it. If we create space for industry and higher ed and K-12 and the nonprofit and community and at large to engage in how we better connect young people to careers, we'll have a stronger community. So that's what we're going to be doing this afternoon, is incorporating that student voice. Now, if you're just now jumping into today's Zoom and you're not one of our interns or fellows, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. We'd love to see who is participating with us today. And, you know, one of the biggest challenges in workforce development and thinking about education is the duality, or that challenge between helping employers immediately find the workers they need right now and helping them get involved in the schools and helping them connect with students that are eventually going to work in our workforce in the not too distant future. And then one of the biggest things that our region is really focused in on is post-secondary credential attainment, or a 2-year degree attainment, but really just attainment. So right now, our goal is about 60% of working age adults in our region have a high quality post-secondary degree or a credential, and that is one of the things that we focus on as a region. One of the things that we do in our Business Advisory Council outside of incorporating young people's perspective and voice is we look at our in-demand sectors. So as we're looking at the different in-demand sectors around our region, we're also partnering with organizations to look at how we can get young people into those sectors. And many of the logos and organizations that you see on the slide in front of you actually had people come and speak to these students this summer. So I don't want to speak any further without introducing one of the best parts about this program, which is that we incorporate high school students into the Business Advisory Council, but we do that with the leadership and guidance of college students or recent grads. So with that, I would like to just pause here and highlight that we have Mr. Johnson, from a recent graduate of Central State. We have Miss Ali, a student at Wright State, and Miss Almuzoughi from Wright State as well. So we're just so excited that they're going to be leading these groups today, and just really eager for them to be able to introduce their groups. And then just so everyone's, I'm sure some of you are wondering, is this internship where we pay these students all virtual? Actually, we do an in-person intro session. So if you look at your screen, you'll see we kicked off the program in person, where we had a panel with our local mayor of Dayton and a county commissioner and a local city councilman. So just a great way to kick it off in person. And these students are representing 89,000 students in our region's Business Advisory Council. So you can see many of the logos of students that have participated in the past or are participating. My screen is not shared. Hurrah! Thank you so much. Let me see if I can get it to work now. Is it working now? No one told me. All right, here we go.
Yeah,
I'm getting a
it's
thumbs
good.
up. Getting a thumbs up from Domasi.
For the
All right.
record, your boss told you, but you didn't look at the message.
I was just rocking and rolling. So if you're watching today's presentation though, and you're seeing these students from different districts, and your district is not represented and you're part of our region's business advisory council, I'm sure that you and your team or someone at your district can identify someone from your freshman class or your rising sophomores that you could see be a part of this program next summer. So we're already thinking about recruiting for next summer, and our goal is to have 25 to 30 students. So we're always thinking about how do we get more of our local districts to participate. And then just for today's agenda, we're going to have obviously our welcome right now, and then we'll have a 10-minute presentation for our first group, followed by 5 minutes of questions from you all. Then we'll have a 10-minute presentation from our second group with 5 minutes for questions from you all. And then our third and final group will go, and then we'll kind of open it back up for general questions for the larger program. And then we'll jump out, and then I'm going to debrief with these students before we let them go and they finish up, many of them, their first job as high school students. So that's how today's Run a Show will go. And one of the biggest things that we ask these high school students to do as they're working for us at the ESC this summer is to think critically. And when they were getting to meet different speakers, to really not be afraid to ask them anything under the sun. And the overarching goal of this program is for them to think about their individual aptitudes, their individual interests, explore different careers, get to meet with people that are actually working, and think about what we're doing in our schools to better connect students to careers, and then to be student leaders once they go back to their district. So we're really excited for them to put forward their ideas today. And they met with lots of leaders. To the interns that are in today's session, when you see this mosaic of faces, it's kind of crazy, but all of these different individuals are different leaders of different in-demand sectors or community organizations, and they spoke with the students and were just amazing resources. So if you're in today's Zoom and you're in this mosaic, or you've spoken to previous cohorts, because this is our 4th year doing this, please just know that we are so grateful for your time. And then the other thing that we want to highlight to you all is that when we're doing this work, we're trying to set the stage for these students so that they understand the work that's already taking place so that they can kind of give us their idea. But most rising sophomores, most rising juniors, they might not be completely familiar with workforce development or economic development or even community development. So a lot of what they do in this internship is they learn by watching documentaries. So they watched Left Behind America, which is on Dayton, Ohio. They watched American Factory, which is about the Fouad factory here in Dayton, also won an Oscar for Best Documentary. And then they also watch a Vice documentary on the future of work. And as we do that, we even have them look at emerging technologies and emerging careers and ask them to explore these things and to think about the implications for their careers once they're out of high school and whatever they do after high school. And then the last thing is we talk about employability skills. We talk about resumes. We talk about how to go and find other internships and find job shadow opportunities. And even along the way, the fellows that are supporting this program, they got to meet people like Senator Sherrod Brown and other leaders to help them in their leadership of this program. So very grateful to everyone who met with our fellows. A special shout out to Cate Carey. I don't have my eyes on who's attending right now, but she spoke with our students about how to give presentations and how to do interviews. So thank you so much, Cate. And then just really to all the speakers that spoke to our students today representing the various in-demand sectors. So we expect to have about 6,000 or 7,000 students graduate from our region. That's 7,000 opportunities. That's about filling half of the University of Dayton basketball stadium. And that's a lot of students. Obviously, we weren't able to incorporate 7,000 voices, but we're really excited about the students that we had participate in this year's program. And then if you're wondering, well, what happens once they're done with the program, we actually have a LinkedIn alumni group as a space to share resources and to reconnect with those students as they go on through their educational journey. So it's now time to jump into our presentations, and I'm going to throw it to our first group, Project One. Ms. Almuzoughi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Brian. Hello, everyone. My name is Maarya Almuzoughi. Can you guys hear me fine? Okay. So my name is Maarya Almuzoughi. I'm currently a third-year student at Wright State University, majoring in international studies, and I'm the fellow who was helping the students with the informational interviews presentation. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so earlier this year, at the Business Advisory Council annual dinner, Kevin Fleming highlighted the importance of informational interviews and challenged us to bring more students to conduct informational interviews. So for that reason, our students, interns, were tasked with providing their ideas on how we can accomplish that. And we will have them introduce themselves.
Oh, hello. I am Gabriella Mejia LaPearl. I'm a rising junior at Oakwood High School.
Hi, I'm Zainab
Zainab
Oghihani. I'm a rising senior and I go to Bellbrook High School.
Hi, I'm Cate Eberly, and I'm going to be a sophomore this year at Bellbrook High School.
Hi, I'm Safa Islam. I'm going to be a rising senior at Bellbrook High School.
Hi, I'm Darkaree Glenn. I'll be a rising sophomore at Chaminade Julienne High School.
When we talk about informational interviews, I'd like to first give a definition. Informational interviews are opportunities for young people to make connections with professionals in specific fields of interest. They allow for an interactive experience where the natural curiosity of a student can take precedent. The unique experience facilitates students' understanding and the relationship to job markets so they can make informed decisions about their future. Therefore, they can evaluate their success and interest in possible future careers. Next. Before committing to one-on-one personalized informational interviews, we concluded that it was important for students to understand the general direction of their career interests in the future. Therefore, their overall experience and the specific professionals helping them along the way could be as suitable as possible. Factors that possibly contribute include career personality tests, such as U-Science and Naviance, that utilize algorithms to guide students to careers, or traditional career fairs that expose students to a variety of careers and industries and therefore spark interest in more specific career aspects. There are also the personal and interest in environmental factors, things like family and life experience, factor into what a student thinks is possible, and the environment that one grows up in shapes perception through life. And ikigai, the Japanese concept of satisfaction in work. It is a consideration of what you love, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. When you put factors like these together, students become educated on what path they may take towards their future. All they have to do is learn how to put their skills to use in spaces like informational interviews. Next.
Okay, so you might be asking what an informational interview is. Personally, starting off with this project, I had no idea what an informational interview was, let alone how to conduct one. There are 8 simple steps to ensure your informational interview runs smooth. First, set your goals. Second, find potential interviewees. Third, request an interview. Fourth, prepare. Fifth, plan questions. Sixth, conduct the interview. During the interview, actively listen to the interview's responses. 7, wrap up. Thank the interview for their time and express your appreciation for their willingness to share their knowledge and experiences. 8, follow up. Send a thank you note or an email to express gratitude once again. Next slide. There are many reasons why teenagers may not participate in informational interviews. Some of these reasons may include lack of awareness. Many students may be unaware of the concept and potential benefits of informational interviews, which can lead to hesitation and neglect in pursuing them. 2, difficulty finding professionals. Students may encounter challenges in finding professionals who are willing to participate in informational interviews due to their busy schedules or reluctance to engage with students. 3, time constraints. With academic commitments, part-time jobs, and other responsibilities, students often have limited time available, making it difficult to prioritize and schedule informational interviews. 4, lack of confidence. Students may feel uncertain or lack confidence in their ability to conduct informational interviews, fearing that they may come across as inexperienced or unprepared. Some other reasons include limited guidance, geographic information, and fear of inexperience. Next slide. To overcome these barriers, it is essential to raise awareness to teenagers of informational interviews, provide guidance and mentorship, help develop networking skills, and utilize online platforms to connect with professionals across various industries. Educators, parents, and employers play a crucial role in supporting teenagers by emphasizing the benefits of informational interviews and assisting them in navigating the process. As a high school student, seeing these sort of things on my social media feed makes us high schoolers feel more interested and comfortable in participating in interviews. Another way to increase teenagers' participation in informational interviews is by incentives. High school should encourage students to conduct informational interviews and offer a reward upon completion. By providing an incentive, more students are likely to engage in these interviews because they are not only gaining valuable information, but also receive an award. Lastly, practice general conversation skills or soft skills can be very beneficial. Due to the impact of COVID-19 and the following restrictions, many teenagers may have had limited opportunities to interact with others, leading to their difficulties in communicating, especially with adults. By encouraging students to engage in more conversations, it can relieve social anxiety that some students may be experiencing. Next slide.
Why informational interviews are useful resources. As a rising senior, being able to conduct informational interviews allowed me to understand how useful of a resource it really is. You can gather firsthand information, which helps gain valuable knowledge and a better understanding of the job role. It also helps to be aware of the qualifications required for that particular position. You can gain insider perspective, where you can learn about the culture, trends, and challenges, which could help you provide the freedom to choose how to proceed with your career. You can build connections with others in your desired career field, and through these contacts, you can obtain mentorship, advice, referrals, and you may even access the hidden job market, leading to better job opportunities. And you can enhance your communication skills, allowing you to practice your interview skills in a pressure-free environment. Next slide.
What are students gaining through these opportunities? Between both opportunities, career fairs and informational interview fairs, students grasp a base level knowledge of a career and qualifications needed to be successful. During informational interview fairs, students can also use this time to practice being interviewed, helping to prep them for future job applications down the road. Next slide. How to create more opportunities for informational interviews. Schools can do a number of things to create opportunities for students to conduct informational interviews. They can host their own informational interview fairs. When holding these during school hours, it brings a larger participation, allowing for majority of the students to gain something from the fair. Schools can also publicize events occurring outside of the school, such as local career fairs. They can spread the word to students through posters and emails. Students should also be encouraged to reach out to someone who inspires them in a certain line of work. This also builds connections, which could possibly help secure future positions. Students should be informed about what informational interviews are. Prior to this internship, I did not know what informational interviews were. If students become more educated on this ever-growing subject, it'll bring more motivation to reach out and to conduct informational interviews, causing for more students to experience the benefits informational interviews have to offer. Next slide.
First and foremost, I want to talk about my personal experience with informational meetings. I didn't actually know what informational meetings were also. And when I took my first informational meeting, I realized how important it is to take an informational meeting because you learn so much about the person's career. In addition, it's a great skill for students to have, so I recommend others to engage in informational meetings. In this slide, we talk about technology and how we can use it to assist students in taking informational meetings. Technology is developing quickly and has a significant influence on our culture. We believe that utilizing various technologies can considerably increase students' participation in informational meetings, especially given how regularly and actively students use technology. Down here, we have online polling and interactive presentations. Those are the two technologies we plan on using to assist students in taking informational meetings. Online polling is a helpful tool for students conducting informational interviews since it enables them to find possible interview subjects, plan meetings effectively, rank relevant inquiries, and get feedback. Students can also use online polling platforms to build networking groups with their peers, determine demand and interest in particular businesses or industries, and anonymously request advice. This technology makes it easier for people to communicate, work together, and gather knowledge, enabling students to make wise career selections and create deep relationships in their chosen industries. Interactive presentations can be used also. Students can promote their abilities and interests, showing initiative and engage interview subjects through multimedia components, interactive Q&A sessions by using interactive presentations in informational interviews. Students may create an engaging and meaningful experience by tailoring the questions to each interviewee, boosting networking possibilities and enhancing their confidence and communication abilities. The presentation also acts as a practical resource for post-interview follow-ups, strengthening relationship with business leaders and providing insightful information for career paths. Next slide.
For a student to reap the benefits of the interview, they must have the driving curiosity and courage to ask questions and talk to an adult. This step could be the most difficult of the process if students are not prepared. To alleviate this, resources should be provided to help students along the way. These could include, next slide, question templates, a set of provided example questions so students can get a feel for what they should be asking. Initially, asking an adult questions might be intimidating for a student, but having a template as a baseline might alleviate some of that anxiety. Another way to foster young connections and encourage student voices could be a practice of older students mediating for their younger peers. Within this strategy, older students that have met with specialized industries in the past could mediate interviews or help prep younger students. For example, a senior that has met with an ER doctor could connect a freshman with the same doctor and make sure the freshman got the same benefits from the experience that they did. Next slide. Lastly, in a more general sense, informational interviews could be conducted in small groups rather than just for individuals. Having informational interviews in small groups could make it an easier experience for more introverted students. This would also allow for more information to be spread among many students efficiently. This would be less of a placeholder for actual one-on-ones and more so a transitional step for those that feel they are too shy or uninformed to commit to a meeting by themselves. Next. As high school students, we didn't know anything about informational interviews before this internship. Through this project, we were encouraged to all conduct our own interviews, and we all learned so much new information on careers we were interested in. I can say, for example, I am a rising junior interested in medicine, and it was an amazing experience when I got to ask a seasoned nurse practitioner anything I wanted to. We talked about development of new technologies, mental health, and diversity in the workforce. Through it all, I got to direct all of the conversation. Students are not adequately informed of this opportunity, and connecting students with professionals will bridge the gap and allow for more students to participate and for a more seamless transition into the professional world. Taking feedback from students will also be extremely important for the success of programs that initiate informational interviews. Thank you very much for your time.
Wow.
Lastly, we would love to give Katie Carey a thank you for assisting us with our presentation and answering our questions.
Wow. I am so impressed with group one. I just want to remind all of our guests today that these are high school students. They're not graduate students. They're not college students per se. They're high school students, and just excellent job, group one. But I want to jump right into the audience. Do we have any questions from any of our guests today for our first group tackling informational interviews?
I have a question. once again, job well done, Group 1. I learned a lot from this presentation, and I think I've picked up a few tips in terms of how I can interview better the next time I get the opportunity to do so. So my question for you, in your research about informational interviews, did you find that this process or the way in which we conduct informational interviews today has drastically changed over the years? You know, consider how things were done maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago. What are some of the changes or the differences in this process today compared to how informational interviews were conducted years ago?
I would say it definitely changed, considering the fact that technology has advanced and now we can use technology to conduct informational interviews. So it makes it much more different based on that.
It's a great question. Thank you, Marita. Does anyone else have any questions for our first group? I think I saw someone. Nope. Okay, so I just want to say Kevin Fleming spoke at our annual dinner. Maarya mentioned that, and I just loved the opportunity to have high school students not only research them, but do them and then put together this slide deck. So if you're in the future watching this on YouTube and you're representing another school or partner in our community, we are so grateful for their presentation today. But we're perfectly on time, so let's keep rocking and rolling. Group 2, you're up.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you great.
Okay, great. Okay, so my name is Barat Ali. I'm a fellow in the program. I'm a junior at Wright State, and the group I was leading, they were responsible for researching opportunities in engineering and just ways that students can get involved in local school districts in the area. We did speak with Dr. Gold and Dr. Jerica Brown from the University of Dayton, as well as Jessica Short from the STEM Regional Center to help students with answering any questions. I will go ahead and let them introduce themselves, and then they'll take the lead from here.
Hello, my name is Mariam El-Gihani, and I'm super glad to be here today.
Hello, my name is Arijeet, and I'm glad to be here today.
Hello, I'm Domasi Taylor, and it's great to meet all of you.
My name is Fouad El-Skari. I'm a upcoming senior at Centerville High School, and I appreciate you taking your time today to look at our perfect presentation.
As you know, our main goal is to get high school students more interested in engineering. One important factor in achieving this goal is to share ways that students can voice their thoughts and opinions in engineering through partnerships and communities. The first way is joining student organizations. This would include things such as school clubs or societies. These organizations are great platforms for expressing ideas, organizing events, and working with like-minded individuals. Another way students can voice their opinion is through social media groups. This is a great way for students to ask questions and share their thoughts and opinions, which will then spark discussions and help them connect with a wider community. Our final way students can voice their opinions is by joining engineering programs and internships. These will allow students to share their perspective with professionals and contribute to real-world projects. Now let's talk about what opportunity WritePat offers to high schoolers interested in engineering. WritePat has a program called the Pathways Program, and what high schoolers can do is apply as a student trainee for engineering through this program. What this is like an internship, and what you do in this position is you perform certain tasks, work on projects, and collaborate with other interns. This internship would be great for students because it would help them develop great career skills and help enhance their knowledge on engineering. And as a student myself, I see this as a great way for students to learn more about engineering and as a great opportunity for high schoolers like myself.
I will be introducing some internships outside of Wright Pat. So I have 5 internships here with links as well. So firstly, the Columbus State Community College, the Manufacturing Advocacy and Growth Center, OSU South Centers, TechSolve, and FastLane. These are all great internship programs, and you basically get to work with engineers, and then you can learn from them and their valuable career skills. And also, it is paid as well, and it's completely free to get into. And in 2022, 80% of the interns that went into these different programs, they got full-time employment within those regions. Internships also give students some confidence. So I'm really thankful for this internship because it really helped me to gain confidence and how to speak to people better. And Mr. Brian, he helped me a lot as well. Also, they're just perfect. My other slide, I have Sochi's impact on K-12 students. Sochi is a local council that has many paid internships. So I have it down here. And Sochi, we spoke to Mrs. Jessica Brown, and she gave us a lot of information. And in my opinion, it's all about getting connections nowadays. For my first job, I actually had a friend tell me about the job, and that was very nice of him. And to have connections nowadays is very vital to be able to get a job or to get a better job. And you can even go into different career paths within your major. So I think that's great as well. And schools could even work with these councils to increase the students that apply for internships. Down here, I have 2 graphs. I have one for engineering salary statistics for 2014, and then one for 2020. And as you can see, the salaries have risen a good amount in just about 6 years. That's very interesting. And engineering is a very nice major. We need a lot of people to build things, a lot of people to go into the computer aspect of it. When I was a little kid, Legos were my favorite. So I feel like it's very vital for kids in general to build stuff at a young age and train their minds to become future great people. Also, I feel like in the Dayton region, we can really use some of our schools giving fairs during school time about engineering. I have had a lot about mental awareness. That is very useful as well, but it would be very great to see some engineering fairs during the school time. And we need the future students to become the new generation, and we need them to be strong and be perfect engineers and do great.
Well, I'm talking about the ways that students can get involved with engineering. One of the ways is through summer camps offered at UD to students entering 11th or 12th grade with a 3.0 GPA. These camps typically last 3 to 4 days, and their costs vary depending on the length. During these camps, you will be able to take a look at what separates different fields of engineering, as well as talk to current UD students who are studying engineering and professional engineers. You can also go on an optional tour of UD campus and learn about the college admission process. Besides learning more about engineering, there is also one more benefit to attending a UD engineering camp. For FAFSA, you can claim a $4,000 book scholarship at UD, which can be used to pay for up to $500 of your textbooks fees at UD's on-campus bookstore. And personally, if I ever decide like I might want to go into engineering, these can help me because I do have a 3.0 GPA, so I can look at these to figure out whether or not I want to go into engineering. All right, next slide. Ohio State University also offers engineering programs. These programs are available to anyone in grades 9 through 12 and are free. OSU offers 4 programs: the Engineering Basics Summer Camp, Additive Manufacturing Summer Camp, Robotics Summer Camp, and Gen Cyber. The Engineering Basic Camp Students interested in engineering and engineering technology careers will gain hands-on introductory experience and the opportunity to join Columbus State faculty and staff in exploring the world of engineering. They also get to experiment with cutting-edge equipment during the program. In the additive manufacturing summer camp, students will learn about 3D printing and gain hands-on experience in manufacturing careers. And in the robotics summer camp, the students will explore Industry 4.0 and universal robotics, as well as gain hands-on experience with advanced manufacturing careers. In Gen Cyber, students will learn about the processes behind hacking and coding and all of that. Next.
Hey everybody. Well, I wanted to talk about STEM schools because they're typically seen as a gateway into engineering. So I think that if we could bring more of those out, we could possibly incorporate more people into engineering. So I wanted to talk about why they can be beneficial to students as a whole. There's a lot of diversity in the amount of things that you can do there. They have mechanical, aerospace, just there's a bunch of different ones that I can't really name off the top of my head, but it allows people to explore their interest and get a better grasp of what they want to do in their future, where they want to go in life. Next thing is the networking and the connections that you make. You will meet with a lot of people who know what they're talking about. Maybe they'll have speakers come in from certain fields and educate you about stuff. And you can build connection with those people. And when you get out of the school, you can use that to kind of as a next stepping stone in your life. And also nurturing a creative mind. Nothing wrong with our current school system, but most of it doesn't really focus on our creative part. But with engineering, you're constantly using your brain to try to shape different ideas into your projects. So it kind of sort of makes sure that you have to stay thinking and nurtures that creative mind that's so important in today's day and age. Also, the problem solving skills and a trial and error mentality will be a very useful skills, because in life, you're going to constantly get knocked down and you won't always get everything right the first time. With engineering, it's kind of bound to happen that you're going to fail over and over again until you eventually get it right, and then you'll be fine. And it'll kind of sort of build that mental awareness that you might not get it the first time, but as long as you keep trying, you'll get it eventually. And a desire to understand how things work. Because when you start learning how one thing works, and if it interests you, you'll constantly try to figure out how to build this or solve this problem, just figure out how this does that, and how everything kind of sort of just goes in a process of order, if that makes sense. And Miss Short, I thank you for this story because it helped me make a very good point. There was a chicken that it was missing both of their legs, and they contacted the STEM school in Dayton. I can't remember its name, but they contacted the STEM school in Dayton, and the students got to help the chicken build new prosthetic legs for it when it was missing both of its legs due to frostbite. So it helps the community, because some things that wouldn't typically be available to the average person, you can have. Hold on, tech error for a sec. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you great.
All right, sorry about that. But you can kind of sort of help your community through your projects. Next slide, please. Next thing I wanted to talk about is life skills that it builds, because most people don't realize that there's a big connection between stuff that you do every single day and engineering. For one, determination and commitment. These two go hand in hand, but I think they're so important to think about, because you have to push through to get your project done, to get this and that done. Sometimes you have to work on 3 things at once, and it just is super hard, but you have to keep on going and pushing until you complete them. And then when you complete them, you feel great and you're like, oh, I can't wait to have this time off. But problem solving skills, they're very important to have, because I know this is kind of looping back to what I said about the STEM schools, but I believe it's very important to have in your mental state. Problem solving skills will constantly help you throughout life, because no matter what challenge you face, it'll always be there. Mental fortitude kind of goes hand in hand, because you have with determination and commitment, because you need mental fortitude to stay determined. Focus, sometimes you just got to lock in on certain things and don't let everything go everywhere. And you got to kind of sort of stay locked on to what you're saying. Meeting deadlines, sometimes you'll have very hard deadlines in the real world and in engineering. But when you learn it through engineering, you'll be able to apply that everywhere else. Teamwork and leadership, you're constantly have to work with people in the real world. And sometimes you'll have to take charge to help the situation go smoothly. And that's it. Thank you.
Just a quick recap. Today we learned about how internship programs provide students valuable career skills. We learned how it's critical to give high school students channels for expressing their thoughts in order to increase interest in engineering and different internships, and how engineering builds great life skills. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Great job, group 2. So grateful for you tackling this enormous opportunity and challenge for our region, which is how do we get more young people into engineering? And I also want to just shout out the University of Dayton again for having their Dean of Engineering provide perspective, and the Dayton Regional STEM Center for providing perspective, and for these students to really jump right in. I do see that we had a question: what opportunities are there for camps or hands-on experiences for students who do not have transportation to get there? And I see that one of our interns responded that these are overnight camps, but I do not believe they provide transportation. However, this is a consistent theme we hear in almost all workforce development challenges, is that the biggest challenges to workforce development is transportation, childcare, and mental health. So you're hitting the nail on the head, Christy, for one additional area that we'd love for local leaders around the state even to be considering as they build these opportunities. But does anybody else have any other questions for group 2?
I'll unmute myself since I sent the question. The students have worked so hard on these presentations. I know in general, as a young person trying to get someplace to one of these really cool and amazing opportunities isn't always practical. So I didn't know, as a part of your research, because you definitely have some really cool opportunities that you found with other university partners and things. And maybe even you've discovered something that's close by to one of your schools or something creative. That transportation, to Mr. Stewart's comment there, transportation is always a topic of conversation. And so was just throwing it back out there to see if any of you had found creative solutions that maybe some of us have not thought of to date.
Fouad, go ahead.
I know a solution would be Zoom, but also if we can possibly team up with all the libraries around Dayton, so we can have different meetings in each library, or we can. I feel like Zoom is the best bet, since I know transportation can be kind of hard since some students don't have their license. I can get back to you on that though. I can do some more research.
Thank you. I appreciate the ideas. That's something for you all to think on, because it's something that all the adults on the call get asked all the time. And so maybe you've thought of something different that might be a way to go around it. Zoom is certainly amazing in terms of eliminating the transportation piece, but it also doesn't incorporate that kind of human contact piece and the tactile piece that we all enjoy as well. So there is definitely no magical answer, but always looking for new ideas.
Domasi, did you have an additional thing? I know you came off mute. If not, you're good.
I was originally going to say what Fouad said with the Zoom. I think it's really useful because almost everyone has access to a computer. So I think that we can utilize that to try to build interest and help the community more.
And the one thing I'll add is, in their presentation, I think they kind of said in between the lines, we need more engineering modules and curriculum and examples and classes in our traditional schools. Domasi, you're heaped throwing praise on the Dayton Regional STEM School and some of our local STEM schools around the state. And I think I'm kind of hearing from the students, like, building it into the day-to-day is also a great way to tackle the transportation piece, right? why should they have to go somewhere else? Why don't we build it into what we're already offering, right? But Christy, you hit the nail on the head. I guess I'll just kind of take your question and go, actually, hold on. I see two more questions. Quinn, what are a few things that your school can do or does to get you motivated to get involved or want to gain skills to work towards a bright future? So group two, are there any things that you've felt like during your experience so far it's gotten you motivated or want to get involved?
I'd have to say just generally meeting either people or hearing about things that have actually gone through the process. I don't want to hear someone who has no experience in the subject try to list off facts about it when they're not easily creditable. But when you actually hear the facts, or like you see an interview or hear a documentary about something that's a credible source and that isn't just somewhat hearing based off of what they've said and piecing everything together to make it sound good, it kind of sort of helps build that interest when you know that it's coming from the heart of the person.
All right, well, we're gonna have a little bit of room for at the end for additional questions, but I'm gonna throw it to group three. Great job, group two.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tyrell Johnson. I'm a former graduate of Central State University, and I am the fellow with Group 3 who was tasked with educating the youth on law enforcement opportunities as well as discussing the employment rate. So let the interns come to the screen and introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Layla Batman, and I'm a rising sophomore at Ohio Virtual Academy.
Hi, my name is Maya Thompson. I'm going to be a sophomore at Fairmont High School.
Hi, I'm Sophia Jones, and I'm a rising sophomore at Northmont High School.
Hello, I'm Layne Keel, and I'm a rising sophomore at Fairborn High School.
Hi, I'm Mariam. I'm going to be a rising sophomore at Centerville.
All right, so what is law enforcement? Law enforcement is mostly known for police departments, sheriff's offices, federal agencies, paramedics, and animal control. Some student opportunities for law enforcement are expand programs like DARE to discuss careers, using use of SROs to talk with students about careers in law enforcement, and then also making it interactive, such as visiting police stations, touring jails, and going on ride-alongs. Also, students could using student interest and aptitude assessment data like U-Science. Some pros about being in law enforcement are rewarding, about how you're able to help others, building fraternal relationships, and good benefits like early retirement. But there are some cons coming to law enforcement. Cost of emotional and physical stress, the dangerous work environment, and the long hours. Next slide.
So these are basically some different job opportunities in law enforcement. These are more of the familiar ones. So we have like a police officer, a lawyer, an FBI agent, and a firefighter. And then these are more of the more not familiar ones. So an animal control officer who basically just helps keeps animals safe and healthy. And a court administrator who runs the day-to-day operations of the court system. Explosive ordnance technician who handles bombs and other explosives, and then a forensic analyst who examines evidence to crimes.
So the hiring rate in comparison to April 2019 to March 2021 has decreased. And the resignation rate in comparison to April 2019 to March 2021 has increased. And the retirement rate in comparison to April 2019 to March 2021 has increased. Next slide. And right here, it shows the percentage of women who are in full-time sworn and law enforcement officers in agencies employing 100 or more officers. So as we look at these graphs, I wanted to ask myself, what can we do to increase these numbers from the first graph? And so when we look at this data and how many people are resigning from the law enforcement jobs, at some point our communities cannot endure this massive decrease. So we as a community need to provide more opportunities for students to learn about law enforcement. And how can we do that? So I know that students my age get more out of something when we physically go see something than just being told about it. For example, we can lower the age requirements for visiting a jail. We can provide law enforcement camps for students under the age of 18. And we could also create outdoor activities that showcase different organizations in the law enforcement in Dayton, like fairs. Next slide. So can we start measuring the number of schools that we speak to local law enforcement? So we can start measuring the number of times students meet law enforcement buildings a year, or how many times they learn about law enforcement in school. And that will help us and higher authorities create a plan on creating tours and classes and clubs to teach about law enforcement.
So there are many misconceptions and challenges that people our age or even older people might have. So number one is a lot of people, especially younger people, believe that the danger is more that more people die due to physical danger, but it's honestly more due to mental health issues. Another thing is people believe that if more money is offered, a lot more people would join. The third thing is there is a bad image painted on police officers that all of them are abusive with community members or disrespectful with others. Number four is federal law enforcement officers have more authority than state and local police officers. And number five is that all police officers spend most of their time solving crimes, which is not true. Usually they'll be helping, for example, with traffic or just any other thing, and it's not always just solving crime.
Overall, the law enforcement employment rate is rapidly decreasing. The field should take actions towards the youth to gain more employees in the years to come. In order for that to happen, we need to make the information given to be more engaging and interactive to excite students rather than a boring presentation. Another way would be interviewing people in different fields about their job and what they do. The police force could increase their rate of employment if they were held more responsible for actions that some officers have done. To get students more interested in fields, it has to be more interactive to grasp their attention on the opportunities facing them. After talking to Chief Thompson, I have come to realize that it is a very rewarding field that students need to be able to have the choice to realize.
All right, group three. I want all the adults in the room to just acknowledge the fact that I handed them an incredibly combustible and challenging topic. You know, like we are having a national dialogue right now about the future of policing and what will law enforcement look like in the 21st century. And we expect a lot of out of our Inside Dayton interns, but we had them meet with Chief Tom Thompson from Sinclair and got to talk with them directly, and their fellow met with Sergeant Sean Lamb from the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office to have some context around these different ideas and plans. And just golf clap for group three. That's a tough topic to cover. Good work. Do we have any questions for group three?
Brian, this is specifically for any of the students. As a school administrator, I would love to hear what, based on their experience this summer, what do you think as a school administrator I could do to promote and increase more interest in opportunities like this for students in my building?
Go ahead, Layla.
One thing that you could do is just like, if you guys can like somehow have a day where it's like, I guess you could say like fun, but like not really, you're just learning more about the different careers. And like a lot, like for a lot of careers, there are a lot of different misconceptions and different thoughts for other people. And like just having someone in like some careers come and speak to the students, that would help a lot.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead, Sophia.
Definitely career fairs are a very important thing. I know my school does them, and I feel like a lot of people get really excited about that because I mean, one, you get out of class, that's great, but I feel like it kind of makes it a lot more fun to be able to go around and pick and choose what you're interested in, or having to hear what other people have to say about their career, and basically being able to ask them whatever you want.
Fouad?
Yeah, so I was going to say you can even include raffles, for example. And we have had a lot of fairs at my school personally. And what we did for one of them, we had a Google form. So basically you answer questions about what they talked about in that fair. And then whoever went like first, second, third, it was either a pizza party or they had like some prize for that. I think that would also give them like a little bit more of surprise for it too. And I can't think of anything else, but I think that would be perfect.
Great feedback. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any other questions for our students in group 3? And then we'll let them off the hook and we'll open it up to the full larger group. So I'm just going to ask this question, or to the audience. Did anyone notice their use of AI throughout their presentation? We obviously want these students thinking about the future of work. So I found great joy in watching them go through their presentations and then seeing some of the images that they created using AI tools like DALL-E or Midjourney or things like that. And then also leveraging ChatGPT when they were putting their copy together. Did any of our partners notice some of that? So this is something that we'd never done before in previous years, obviously, and we're very impressed with the students just leaning in and taking advantage of these emerging tools. We know the future of work will definitely require being able to use them. So shout out to all of the students in their presentations incorporating those AI tools. And I do see comments already coming in. All 3 groups did an excellent job presenting on their topics. Great job. So I'm just going to, does anyone want any of our guests from around the state or locally have any questions for the interns or for the fellows for that matter, or for Shannon and I about this program? I'm looking through the chat to make sure I don't miss anything. Well, I just want to go ahead. Did someone come off mute? Did I hear?
I did. It was just.
Oh, go. Yeah.
Just wanted to say to the students, one, job well done, good job. To our fellows, thank you for your leadership. You clearly did a good job prepping your students and your groups. To our high school students, we've done this for a couple of years. I'm always interested in how do we get more kids to be involved in this program.
Another thing that you guys could do to get more students involved is probably just sorry, I blacked out, but is basically like knowing like what type of career, like people that are in different careers that are coming in, like having a bigger variety, because a lot of people are more interested in, like, for example, like computer science and IT type of stuff. So I definitely would say that.
Go ahead, Darkaree.
I think personally we should just expand this program and bring it to high schools to make it a club or something, or even a class. So I think that's a good idea.
Clubs and classes are always good. I know Brian talked to the group, the screen here today, about our delegation. So for the students in high school, kind of put that on your radar as well. We do have a delegation that meets. They're only juniors and seniors, so a couple of you would not be eligible for a couple of years, but Maya, go ahead. I'm interested in what you have to say.
So when I learned about this internship, I learned it from my counselor, and I feel like we need to promote it in schools bigger than just from a counselor. Like, I think we should make an announcement about it, or like bring all the people from the school together and just talk about this internship. And like maybe you can come to like the schools and like talk to them about what you're going to be doing in the internship. So I think we should expand the announcement of it.
Better communication on our part. Sounds like we can do that.
And, you know, Shannon, our superintendent, just mentioned this. So if you're watching from somewhere else around the state, this is how we incorporate student voice into our work over the summer to support our business advisory council plan. But throughout the school year, we have our student advisory delegation, and they're tackling all sorts of topics. And it's a full school year long where they're meeting on almost like a monthly basis with different leaders. It's pretty hands-on. So Shannon, I don't know if you wanted to plug that or add anything to that, but
well, I would just say that anytime you can incorporate student voice in what you do in your local school districts or your organizations, it's always a value add. Oftentimes as leaders, we're making decisions about students and for students and not necessarily with students. And so it was important to me when I gained this role that we elevate student voice, but also empower them with their own agency. We were seeing a lot of students graduate from high school who just didn't know how to do that. They didn't know how to do that in their college careers, in their workforce careers, or even sometimes in their military careers. And so we thought we could do a little part by bringing folks together, again, juniors and seniors from each one of the high schools in Montgomery County, who meet at least 4 times a year, if not 6 or 7 times a year. And we do tackle many different topics. We have had our legislators come in and ask. The lieutenant governor actually came in and met with some of our groups. But the ask is always, how can we be better? How can we do this differently? What's going to be more important to you? What would make this more effective or efficient for you? And so making certain that we just take the time to stop and do active listening to the people who we are making these decisions about, so that we are making decisions with them and not necessarily just about them or for them, is important. So I think it's been pretty effective. Our kids that have graduated from the program, they're top-notch kiddos, but one of the most important things that they've said upon completion is that it really just is nice to be heard. And it's nice to have conversations about things that impact us directly. And we don't know what we don't know. So helping us know it is they're very grateful for that. So
and Shannon,
if you haven't started that, I would highly encourage you to do.
And Shannon, I think another piece to this, that for the administrators and the leaders from around the state, if you're watching this, I think one of the things that I should have emphasized is when you move your cursor around or you look at the different students in today's Zoom, they are representing 8 different school districts, right? And the fact that students from various school districts are sitting together for 5 weeks discussing complex socioeconomic, political, and economic topics is really beautiful to see them, regardless of where they live or what school they go to, having a safe space to learn about these really important topics. And I've just really enjoyed watching their responses and all of the email notifications from the Google Classroom for this internship program, because yes, we're paying them to get their perspective and participate in the internship. But one of the things that I love is just assigning them an article from the Wall Street Journal about how there's a decline in enrollment of high schoolers signing up for the military and asking them for their perspective as to why. So just really grateful for this space, and Shannon and to the Montgomery County Educational Service Center, my employer, for allocating the funds to actually fund this program. So I just want to thank you, Shannon, for supporting this year after year and making this a sustainable project.
Absolutely. It's always our honor. We do have a question in the chat, so I'll touch on that very quickly. We started the program, the delegation, by just asking the superintendents to nominate a junior and a senior. And originally, we just said to the superintendents, you tell us who they are. They don't have to be your student body president. They don't have to be your student council president, or, you know, some school districts have Board of Education ambassadors from a student perspective. You tell us who you want to put on the delegation, and we will absolutely, with open arms, accept them. Now that we're 2 years in, we've had just about every scenario. We've had school districts that have had an application process. We've had school districts that have tagged, somebody with a title that I just mentioned. And sometimes they just open it up and say, who might be interested in this? And it's not been a formal application process, but they've just took volunteers. So we have found that as long as the student is interested in doing it and committing, we've got some criteria that we say, the students who worked best are willing to commit to these 4 days, are willing to learn about other topics, are willing to put their voice on the table and out into the atmosphere. So we do have some profile of what a delegate who works best, but really we've had student athletes, we've had political junkies, we've had the CTE students that have gone to Miami Valley CTC that no longer actually attend in their high school, their traditional high school. So we've had just about every typology of student, and it works well. What we're going to tag into, because part of the project that we worked on was a PBL about what does it mean to be a student in Montgomery County. That was year 1. Year 2 is what does it mean to be an elementary school student, a middle school student, a high school student. So over the next couple of years, we'll be having those high school students tag into their elementary and middle school populations. However they can do that, we'll help them if they need help to really lift more than just those 2 student voices. I would love, we have 24 high schools in Montgomery County. So we technically have the opportunity to have 48 students. I would love to have 148 students. But logistically, that's a little hard to manage. So 48 is kind of where we're at this point in time. And we do encourage the junior to roll up into the senior delegate spot. Sometimes that has not happened for scheduling purposes or what have you, if they're involved in CCP and they can't, make their schedule work. But for the most part, we like the junior to roll up to be our senior delegate, and then we bring on a new junior every year.
So Shannon, with the student advisory delegation, I think that one thing that I'd like to aspire towards as we kind of go into the next school year and the next summer is kind of figuring out how I can even more effectively help bridge some of the rock star students that you all heard from today, and then sliding into some of those opportunities with the student advisory delegation. And I see Fouad has raised his hand, so why not? Let's go.
All right, so I had a couple of things to mention. So how to advertise this program more. One way I feel that if we put it on a news center by chance, so if the news center would advertise it on, for example, Facebook, Instagram, even our parents could see it and then tell us, hey, there's a program, you can get $500, it's summer. And all our parents want us to be better, and they would love us to learn about engineering and all these majors. That's one thing. Another thing I would say is making a TikTok account. The fellows could take care of that if they would like, and then they could advertise a little bit and then talk about the program. And everyone's on TikTok nowadays, so I feel like it would surely get to the Dayton area from there.
Fouad, I love your recommendations. Bara, Marwa, Tyrell, don't worry, I will not make you do TikTok dance challenges for this program, but I love the idea, Fouad. No, I'm just kidding. I think what you're saying is valid, though. We have to stay creative. We have to continue to iterate. And I know that for the invitations that I sent out for today, I said it was going till 3:30, and we're officially 8 minutes over. So I want to be respectful of everyone's time. If you have any questions or comments, please send them to me. We're really grateful that we got to spend our afternoon with you. And can we just get a round of applause for our high school students, our college students, and for Ms. Shannon Cox, my superintendent, who allows me to run this program, because it is such a privilege. And it's one of the highlights of my year every year. So with that, to all of the high school interns, we're going to jump out and then jump into another Zoom link so we can debrief the 5 weeks, learn and kind of discuss our takeaways, and then celebrate and cheer and celebrate the win. So thank you everyone for joining us. And to the interns, you should check your email because the Zoom link is in your email. All right. Thank you, everyone.